All right, guys, welcome back to the Tuddle Daily Podcast. I am actually so interested, and he's already answering one of my first questions. Wanted to ask my next guest, Mr. Jason Bailey, if he's still a dipper at all, because I am a dipper as well too. Now, what is your choice of dip or smokeless tobacco that you're using right now? Because I had to switch from Copenhagen to Grizzly.
Why'd you switch?
Well, because of the price.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's in Florida. It's gone up. I know. I was just down there I'm in Georgia. Georgia, the prices are still good. They've gone up, but you go like up north. Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't afford to dip or smoke.
No.
Last time I was in Chicago, there were somebody was with me and they're smokers and they went in to buy cigarettes and it was like $10.
Well,
a
that's
box.
why they that guy up there, that the one that said, "Oh, I can't breathe" or whatever, selling the single cigarettes. You remember the Lucy's? Everybody made a big deal about that because people would sell cigarettes like for $1 a piece.
Not a
And
bad idea. It makes some money.
yeah, yeah, make some money. Now, Jason, let's get into this. Now, you're up in Atlanta right
Well,
now.
hold on. Let me answer your question first.
Yeah.
It's Skull
Okay.
Long Cut Mint Extra.
Oh, see, I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you, man, but that is like, I've never been into the flavored dip though.
So
I've
let me
never
tell
been
you,
into it.
let me tell you a story real quick. Well, I started. I'm 45. I started. It's all. By the way, anybody listening, don't start dipping. It's a horrible habit. I wish I never.
I hate it. I hate it.
But I enjoy it because it's ritualistic. It's like a heroin user. I don't think all heroin users do it because they're chemically addicted to it. I think they do it because the ritual of tying off the arm and sitting down with your buddies and shooting up and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, 13 years old, freshman in high school, Sarasota, Florida, football player, just started playing, never played football in my life, part of this crew. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're out drinking, first week of freshman year. And this kid, Justin Bradford was his name. He goes, "Hey, dude, you want to dip?" Never dipped in my life. Just thought I should because I'm a football player. So you're supposed to do it. Thought. He opens a can of Skull. I mean, they didn't have all the flavors at the time, but it was Skull wintergreen, and it was marinated in olive juice. And that was my first dip, and I was hooked ever since. And all my buddies did Copenhagen. I couldn't do it. Tasted like a football, and it was too fine, and especially with braces. So then I went to Skull Straight, which was the Skull version of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
That's my backstory on how. And then I just never couldn't stop.
I always, after a good meal, like you're talking about being ritualistic, after a good meal, putting in a dip every once in a while is just always so good, though. I think so.
Or a car ride.
Oh, a good car ride. Like if you're gonna go on one. Yeah, man. Now, right now, you're up in Atlanta, Bailey and Southside, correct?
Yep.
Now, how long have you been up in Atlanta? Because Atlanta is my favorite city in the
Really?
world. I love it.
We July of 2013, I moved up here. I left, Tuddle and I know each other from our Real Radio days, and I was finishing.
You were nights and then middays. Do you remember that when Drew Garabo left and you were taking over nights? Do you remember that they thought it would be funny. They let me host a week.
That was a bit. It was a gimmick.
Bit.
Yeah, it was Russ's
gimmick.
idea. Yeah,
everybody was like, "Oh man, they gave this nerd, the intern, nights," and I was in there. I had to run my own board, no call screener. It was just me running the board and doing that. And then I had all these Buckethead show people calling. They were like, oh, he's coming soon. And I didn't want to like give up the gimmick because you've always been kind of into wrestling a little bit as well
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
So it was really great. And one of my favorite bits that you guys used to do was the glory hole thing. I loved that back in the day. I know that it was, now looking back on it, it
Yeah.
might be a little corny, but I loved it back then.
Yeah. Well, the going back to when I got to Real Radio. So that was my dream job. I always wanted to go to Real Radio. I ended up going from JRR to 98 Rock in Tampa. And then when I got blown out there, I got the opportunity to come back. I didn't follow Grabo. Actually, they were running Lex.
Oh,
and
the
Terry.
Hideout. The Hideout.
Well, they had the Hideout, and then after them, it was Lex and Terry, I think.
Yeah.
And then they brought me on board, and Russ, was part of bringing me to the station, and Russ has always been very supportive of me. Which I appreciate. And he came up with the idea of having you on. But the problem, I don't know if you ever knew this or not, but like halfway through the bit, the problem is you actually were doing a good job. So Russ calls me and he says, we got a problem. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember, completely, but I was like, oh, what's the problem? He goes, it actually is what Tuddle's doing. It actually sounds pretty good. And he goes, I got to talk to him. I got to tell him to dumb it down a little bit. I was like, yeah, please, because nobody's going to want me on the air. If he's on the air doing a bang up job, they're going to rethink this whole contract thing. So it was funny.
Dude,
it was a good bit.
But hey, do you want me to be honest though, man? I remember. Now, let me ask you though. Why do you think Russ did so much? Because a lot of people forget Doc and Johnny and the Monsters had a really good feud going there.
I was with Doc and Johnny when that was happening.
Exactly. Yeah. Was it really as bad? Because I was just an intern and I looked at you and do you still talk to Hyla at all?
Occasionally, we'll touch base on social media. I mean, he's always been in his own little world. I mean, he's doing very well for him. I don't know what he does. I know he does stuff like on Australian TV, and
he's no kidding.
Kind of, he's just one of those really creative guys that has 36 hours in a 24-hour day. So he's always doing something, and but I don't think Hyla was with us. Actually, I'm positive Hyla was not with us when that feud started. And that feud started, if memory serves, the Monsters took the first shots and we had just been bought by Clear Channel.
Because you were with Paxton, right, at the time?
No. We were Evergreen, and then AM FM, and then we were bought by CBS for a week, and then we made this transition to Clear Channel. And this was all happening at the same time, but it was during the bad droughts in Central Florida, and XL always puts on this big Red Hot and Boom show with fireworks, and the Monsters
I remember this. They
came after the event because of the fireworks, and then they just started ripping in to the show, and it was, I mean, I don't think there's very few times that I've laughed this hard than when listening to Daniel make fun of Doc. I thought that he was calling him like turtle. I mean, like even like I would look at Johnny, and because they were on middays and we were mornings, so we would listen to that. And I would say to John, I'm like, yeah, shit's funny. I was like, oh my God, So they were having me call the Monsters and, like, hey, man, did you hear what Doc, kind of set them up, and then Ross would fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. And it was fun. Then Doc ended up calling the show. It got out of control with some of the things.
I think Doc, remember we used to do the Phillips File celebrity shoot. And I think Doc maybe made a joke about somebody accidentally getting shot or something at one of the events or something. And Russ got really pissed about that. I think that's what got bad.
I remember that day. Actually, that was a lot of me and Stan the Monkey Boy. We were playing the shotgun sound effects. Mm-hmm. And we were, we were kids. We were, young producers in the business, not knowing any better. I mean, again, you look back on a lot of shit now and you're going like, I mean, you can cuss on your podcast.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do.
So, I don't remember what Doc said, but we were playing the sound effects, and then I know it just infuriated Russ. And then Jimmy said a couple things that didn't set well with Johnny, race related. And
Yeah, oh yeah.
then it just got to a point where it turned out to be ugly. And then management had to get involved
Who had
because
to step in? Was it Campmeyer or did Linda
Linda,
Bird Linda
yeah,
Man,
yeah,
it's big when Linda has to like step in
yeah,
and do that. And if people don't know who we're talking about by Linda Bird,
she's
when you
great.
say she's one of the most powerful women in radio, I
Yeah.
mean you would have to say she's up there.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I've worked for a lot of market managers slash general managers. And I still say to this day, even though my boss in Atlanta is a guy, I'd rather work for a woman. But to work for a Linda Bird is an honor. I mean,
Yeah.
she just is, she's a player's coach is what she is.
Mhm.
That's what she is. She's a player's coach.
I got the white couch. I got the white couch firing. I got the white couch firing from Linda once, and Chris Kampmeyer fired me because I got fired on two separate occasions
Attaboy.
at Clear Channel. And like the one thing I will say about Kampmeyer was not like, I mean, he was cool, but like he just didn't pull any punches. He just was like, just straight to it. But you're in trouble when Linda brings you in and sits you in on that white leather couch.
I always
She
avoided it. I always went to the
oh,
chair. I was trying to, it was like American Psycho, you know, the couch
yeah,
looking
like
for the plastic on it. She comes up
yeah, she was
behind you
gonna
with an
start
axe.
playing Huey Lewis in the background or something. Yeah, and yeah, I knew that was coming. Now, all right, so with COVID and stuff, when was the last time you've been into the studio? Now, I know that you've built this, is it the Golden Scissors
Yeah.
studio?
Golden
Uh
scissors.
Now, why Golden Scissors? And is this where you're doing your morning show from every morning now?
Yeah. Well, to answer the golden scissors, let me ask you a question.
Mhm,
If so my grandmother meant the world to me. Like
mhm.
anybody that's ever listened to me on the radio at any point in time always knows that my grandmother, who passed away years and years and years ago, was my rock, was my everything. And so anytime I can pay tribute to her, I do in
Mhm.
the afterlife. So my as a kid, one of the memories that I always had of my grandma, like older people, not just my grandma, women, they would carry these pocketbooks. My grandma would carry this pocket purse, but it called a
Yeah, yeah.
pocketbook.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was like Thor's hammer. Only they could pick it up. It was so damn heavy.
Yeah, it was. And it had the greatest candy in it. It usually had that strawberry candy or Werther's originals in it and stuff. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like a clown car. It had so
Yes.
much stuff in it. You're like, where do you put all this? Saltine crackers, it was biscuits, it was sandwiches. So
Wipes.
she would carry this pair of golden scissors in her studio, really heavy, solid golden scissors. Now, Tuddle, let me ask you, what do you think she did with those golden?
Coupons. Coupons.
It's a great guess. She would cut the whiskers on her chin. And when she would
Oh.
cut the whiskers on her chin, it was like shrapnel. These things would fly. And I just remember as a kid, dodging my grandmother's whiskers when she's cutting with these scissors that I couldn't even pick up. So anyway, I've always remembered that. And I always thought it was a cool name for an LLC or something to that effect. Like I've
That
got
is
an
so
LLC
cool.
called Graham's Purse. So, that's the Golden Scissors Studio. Everybody asked me the same question. COVID, our year up out of the studio is March 17th. We're actually doing a bit on the show. We're doing the pandemies, to mark the year that we've been out. We started, everybody came to my house and I had this back kind of entertainment room where we set up a makeshift studio. Steve, after a couple weeks, didn't feel comfortable, and rightfully so, because he's got
He just got married, didn't he? And why I
no,
think he
he's been married for a while, but he's got two small kids. And
okay.
at the beginning of COVID, everybody was terrified. They didn't know, so my daughter, who's a teenager, she'd occasionally have friends over stuff. So he was like, I'm out. It's like, cool, totally get it, bro. He goes to his house. They set him up at his house. Brandy eventually is able to get back to the studio. Our phone screener,
I tell you, I have always found Brandy hot, hot, hot. And I'm not calling her weird, but I've always been into those weird, like, I'm not
eclectic.
saying, Yeah, like she is good now. What how is she? Because like, I see her with all the tattoos, trying out weird new things. I mean, that's the type of person you're looking for in radio. You want different, you want unique.
Yeah, Brandy as a person is amazing. As a what I call our production producer,
Mm.
is just as amazing. And when I came into the show, I was kind of grandfathered some players that eventually changed, and we morphed into what we are now, our own
You worked
entity.
with Nervous Jared too for a little while, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, for a minute, he wasn't in the programming aspect of it. I tried to work that in. It didn't work out because he's a talented guy.
Oh, I like him. He's a hard worker. Like you're never gonna find anybody that's gonna work harder than him.
I think he's on what, Billy
Well,
Madison
he's
now, right?
Billy Madison now, yeah, and they're
Yeah,
going through it pretty hard, man. Texas is just
yeah.
getting destroyed. Speaking of that, I mean, have you guys had any like wintry storms? Because I know Atlanta, one of my favorite stories is Chipper Jones
Mhm.
rescuing Freddie Freeman off of the side of the highway
On the four wheeler,
during yeah on a four-wheeler. I
Snowmageddon.
mean, yeah, Snowmageddon, and that was pretty bad. Were you up there for that?
That was my first year. Yeah. And I had to ditch. I was going to the gym that day and nobody thought it was going to be bad. Literally, by the time I left before I got to the gym right across the street at the place where I lived at the time, this place called Mableton, which I don't know how I ended up there, but uh, it was so bad by the time I went into the gas station to buy dip and to leave. Everybody, it was like the Walking Dead opening. Everybody was just scattered everywhere. So I tried to go home, and this was all new to me, hills and all that stuff. So I couldn't make it up the hill, and so I left my vehicle at the bottom. And it was funny because the guy in the gas station that I was talking to, we're talking about the weather or whatnot, and then I ended up running into him walking up this giant hill to
Mhm.
go to my house, and we started talking. And he's from Chicago, but he's a UCF grad. And we knew some of the
Oh.
same people because I'm a UCF grad. I was like, what are the odds, man? A freaking snowstorm. And you and I are walking up a hill in Mableton, Georgia. we're both UCF grads. I was like, good luck to you, brother. And that was it. Now, the weather now in Atlanta is nothing like what Texas is getting, or, half the other country. I mean, we had a bad run of rain. Depending on when you air it, like today's nice, this weekend's supposed to be nice. January and February in Atlanta is dreary. It's like the worst 2 months. But when you
Yeah.
get into those spring months, I'm still a Florida boy at heart. I like to get out of the shower and sweat. I love
Yeah.
humidity. You don't get much of that all year round. So you get your seasons in Atlanta, which is why people love it. But it's not bad now. It's
Have
fine.
you been to Dragon Con yet? Because I used to go to
Yes.
Dragon Con every year. When I
Mhm.
was married, that was our thing. We went up there every single year. And I don't think people realize how big that convention is.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, I used to go every year, especially when my son was living with us and he was at that age, his
Mhm.
15, 16-year
Wait,
age.
how old is your son now, man? Because this is gonna make me feel really fucking old. Like,
Caleb's going to be 21.
god damn it.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Jesus
both
Christ.
my stepkids. And then Ariel's going to be, in May, she turns 16. So she gets her license. So this is a whole new world.
So,
She's a good
dude,
girl though.
I gotta talk to you. How was it working, at Excel at the time when so many of the pop music was so big? I remember you guys used to get the greatest guests. Like, I mean, because we had the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney, you had Johnny Wright, you had did you ever meet Lou Pearlman when you
Oh yeah.
were yeah? Do you have
Mhm.
any Lou Pearlman stories?
I do when I met him. And again, I was a kid at the time.
Oh,
I
I'm
just,
sure. Well, I mean, that's a bad thing if you were a kid when you met Lou Pearlman at the time.
I
So,
just I just knew that it was such a shady business. Orlando in that pop scene, which was the epicenter of it. There were so many people trying to dip their hand in the cookie jar, and they were just you could feel the greed and the grime and
Yeah.
the dirt, and then you had the artists or wannabe artists that wanted to be in sync, or they wanted to be the Backstreet Boys. It was the guys that had the natural talent that didn't, and that's the key to success that I've learned all these years in radio, is to not care, to care but not care, to want it but not want it too much. And these guys, that's what they had. They wanted it, but they didn't overdo it. Then you'd see the guys that tried too hard. It was like, how shiny can I get my shirt tonight at Taboo? That was the guy you're like,
Or at the
okay.
Roxy, or because they used to do those Monday night fights at the Roxy's, and like Shaq, and like you would see like Griffey and a couple of those guys in there and stuff. It was really, really crazy times. Now, you have worked in Tampa, you've worked in Orlando. People do not believe me when I tell them how different the audience is from Orlando to Tampa. And it's not even separated by that much, because when I was in Tampa, because I worked at the Bone, I worked with Calta, I worked with Drew over there. I worked with Spice Boy at the Bone, but then I worked the rivalries. We talked Ani and the Monsters. Holy shit, they take that stuff to the next level when it comes to, like, they are out for blood.
Well, that's the old guard. Like the new guard. So yes, to answer the first question, and that was one of my biggest mistakes, is the ego that I had at the time, going from Orlando to Tampa, thinking I'd made it. And I was like, well, I have such a big audience in Orlando, Florida. It's not that far. There's going to be some crossover. I'm going to have instant success. Nope, not even close. And then the first year, outside of Fisher at 97X,
97X, yeah.
That was our straight up competition, and he had been there for a while. So and I Fisher started with Doc and Johnny, so I'd known Chris.
Man, he was at the Crow too. Do you remember the Crow?
Yeah, Fisher and Boy, sure, at the Crow, yeah. So that was our competition, and we weren't winning, but we needed a while to get our feet under. Then they bring Bubba back, and Bubba is a god in Tampa, and so it was like shooting a BB gun at a tank that second year. And then there was a lot of, and I was the BB gun, there was a lot of internal issues that I was having within the building, not the show, but in the, with management. And it wasn't all their fault, by the way. A lot of it was my fault. I did so many things wrong. That's, I'm glad I did, because I learned, to get me to where I'm at now. But
that's what radio is, though. It's all about learning. Like, we've all made mistakes. We've all done dumb shit that we shouldn't have done. You know who's doing really well in Tampa? Crash.
Yeah, I know.
Crash. And that's crazy, man. Like, it's weird how, like, everybody was wanting to listen to a lot of FM. Now, how much music are you guys playing in the mornings up in Atlanta? Or are you doing more talk, or like?
Well, we just, within the past, like 6 months, we added 2 songs, which I'm a talk show host, but that was, there's more to the story, and, I try to pick my battles, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, well, of course. I gotta play this song. Like, are there times where you're like, nah, this stuff is so good? Does management give you a little bit of leadway?
Yeah, this is, they are. That's why it's not that big of a deal, because I understand what they're trying to accomplish, and it's actually a compliment to us, because we are the staple of the station. So, if you're able to step outside your own ego bubble and understand what they're trying to accomplish by adding music, and that's what I had to do. I was like, okay, I get it. But I've never once had my program director, and we drop songs all the time if we're running late, say, you didn't play, he's not that guy. And he's even told me, he's like, look, the reason we're doing this is to brand the rest of the station with the new not new format, but the new rock sound and blah, blah, but it has to start with you guys. You're helping us and this and this, and this is what, he's the boss. That's what he wants to do. That's fine. I got no control over that. But he's never once said to me, dude, you dropped a song. What's going on? Which is great. I mean, it's pretty much hands off. They leave me alone for the most
That's
part.
good, man. I mean, as a host, that's kind of what you want, though, right? Like, you only want to hear from them when the book comes out and say, "Hey, great job." Remember Campmeyer would come down. I would always see it like Russ and them. The only time Campmeyer would come down and talk would be like, "Hey, bud, great job on the book this week or this quarter. Great job," and that was about it. Or when we really got in trouble,
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you this. Lindsay works on your radio station.
Yeah, Lindsay Marie.
Well,
She's great.
Dude, I love her. And I remember the first time I met her because Bubba
she's got
was
Florida ties. Yeah.
Yeah, because her being down in Fort Myers, I met her at a Bubba event, and that was great. And then she went up to Chicago, worked at the Loop and stuff. But I think that's a great Rock 100.5 being able to have her back there. I think is amazing.
She's talented. She's a big deal. I mean, and I know they have her do other stations too. She's got a great voice, great cadence. She knows her shit, and
and I'm not trying to be creepy, but I love watching her do squats. Yeah, squats. I'm sorry. But no. So now up in Atlanta, how was it? Now, did you come after the regular guys? Because I mean, that was a heritage station. I think Larry and them had come back there. Was that weird following such a heritage show like that, or were you right after them?
Yeah. So he gets fired, and then I come in right afterwards, like literally 2 weeks. And that's what I said earlier, how some of the, guys were grandfathered in. It was a transition period. I mean, the guy built a brand, which is, anybody in this business that sees that's one thing I don't like about our business is you can't compliment other. You automatically got to hate somebody because,
I know,
it drives me insane. I don't know the guy. I've met him once, but I know what he built, and that's commendable. And I knew that it was going to be either a sink or swim transition. The problem was when I first came in, they didn't put as much trust, and they didn't put as much on me as they should have. I'm a really smart radio person.
Oh, dude, without a doubt.
I've done this before, and so the first year I just literally sat back and watched, and I'll never forget, our ratings were decent at the beginning, which, you always get the kiss usually. And then we just dive bombed. And I was taking a nap one day. I get woken up by my then program director, and he calls me up and he's screaming at me. He's like, "You're in 22nd place and blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Look, dude, you need to, one, stop screaming at me. And two, this is not my fault. This is your fault. You guys wanted to call us the Rock Morning Show. You didn't want to call us Bailey and Southside. You didn't want to give us an identity. You still wanted to do stuff that the regular guys did. When a show, radio has to move on from their past shows. They have to reinvent themselves if there's a brand. If you're going to follow a heritage show that was a juggernaut, if you're going to follow a Bubba, or you're going to follow a Howard, or you're going to follow a regular guy.
What about Jim Phillips? Dirty
Jim Phillips. Tough.
Jimmy had to follow Jim Phillips, and I can't even imagine, having to follow Mr. Phillips like that.
You've got to do you. And the problem that we have, me included, is that you're always worried about who you're following. It wasn't necessarily that in Atlanta, but in Orlando, I had a couple runs like this in my head, is that you have to do you. And when you focus too much on trying to appease the haters of the past show, That's when you get caught up and you get trouble. You have to pretty much say, GFY, go fuck yourself. This is who I am. This is what I do. You either like it or you don't. I will build a new audience because there's plenty of fish in the sea.
Yes.
Radio people, me included, in the past have issues with that. But anyway, so when I said that to him, I said, you've got to listen to me. And he did. And we made some changes, a lot of changes, and we skyrocketed. And we had these huge ratings for like 3 years straight. I mean, ridiculous
so now they're
ratings.
leaving you alone now. Like they're letting you just kind of do your own thing now. It's like let Jason do his thing. Now, not a lot of people remember this as well too. Following another big show, following a show after, especially the way things went down, you took over after Shannon Burke, right?
Oh, mm-hmm.
That I remember getting that phone. I was answering the phones for the Monsters that morning. They were like, "Hey, you might want to check out the Orange County mugshots right now because of something." And then those 911 calls came out. What was that like following that show, which was doing really great in the ratings, and the way that things went down?
Well, Shannon and I actually got Shannon hired in Atlanta.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You worked with Shannon. Now I forgot about that.
I got him hired up here. There was a news talker that my company Cumulus owned that was right down the hall. And the program director at the time was auditioning these people. And I remember walking by the studio and, the speaker, you can hear it. And they had this guy auditioning for the job. And for 20 minutes, the guy's talking about how he wants to, how radio needs to change and how he's going to change. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And
Shannon.
It made me so angry to listen to this guy. I walked into the program director's office. I said, listen to me. I got the guy. Get this guy out of here. This guy's bothering me. I said, call this guy. I go, his name's Shannon Burke. Let me give you his phone number. Shannon struck gold, though, when he came up to do his audition. He got handed this story, which was right in his conservative house of a like Muslim woman steals American flag. And then the husband of the victim calls Shannon. I mean, like, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Like, he was hired on the spot. And then, of course, they took the station away. And the last thing Shannon said to me when I saw him up here, he goes, thanks for giving me the fucking job. Brother, man, I'm sorry. I just try to help. So anyway, to answer your question. So Shannon and I shared an office. Shannon was a very big supporter of me when I came to Real Radio. He was great to me. He would call me at nights. He would participate in the show. I would see him in passing in the office. I briefly knew him when he was doing the AM stuff and I was at XL. I'd see him in the hallways in the morning. We were cordial. And then that morning that everything came out, I was walking into the gym and a coworker had texted me and said, you ready to do middays? And I said, what are you talking about? Sends me the link. I'm like, oh shit. So, then I find out what's going on and I get on the air and, you gotta have to talk about it and stuff. And so I think, because he messed up and obviously he knew he messed up. I mean, it was
He did his time. Yeah.
He knew he messed up. So I think the audience knew he messed up. So the audience knew, like, you can't have the guy stay on the air. So, all right. So you put this Buckethead guy in, which is a totally opposite show than Shannon's. And we had some really good success out of the gates. But
then they tried to shoehorn people onto your show, I think, at the time.
Like who?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Bringing Otto back.
That was my call.
Oh, that was your call. Okay.
Yeah,
I did not know that. And I love Otto. I did not know, and I think Otto is very, very talented. I always thought that was like a management decision.
No, that was my call. They had asked me who I wanted to bring in as my number two. And my decision, I didn't know him at all. I just knew him from Jim's show. And I like
super talented, the voices. I mean, he was great.
The way I saw it was the guy for years had been like a fourth mic. He needed a shot. The audience knew him. It would buffer, me with some of the haters because he was a staple. He had been there for so long. So there was a little politics being played. One of the reasons I brought him in. And at the beginning, it worked out great. I mean, it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, because it all kind of ended badly with everybody on the show. But
wasn't Bull seemed a little like
he turned heel.
vindictive.
Yeah. Otto turned heel on me. Bull turned heel on me. They all turned heel on me,
Now,
let me say that. And
yeah,
I always I try, as I grow, as I try to become a better human being, it's for people that never say it's their fault. The first thing that I always ask myself now, and it was really after that experience, is what did I do wrong? And there is plenty of things that I did wrong at Real Radio, unfortunately, because that was my dream job. Now, am I happy I moved on financially, money wise? Absolutely.
Yeah, but you're living in Buckhead right now.
No. I'm in Roswell.
No, I mean, I'm looking at the background. I'm looking at that nice woods you have your studio set up on. Like, I do my show on a iPhone 8, as you can see, with a directional microphone, a Wi-Fi hotspot, and a 2006 beat up PT Cruiser. So that's what I've been brokered down to. Now, this is a serious question, and I'm seriously not trying to stir up any shit at all when I ask this. Okay, somebody at Real Radio has become like big time. Sabrina was on your show for a little while, correct?
Yeah, she was our intern.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh man, she was like, that uncut gem, and she exploded, and people are like, oh, Buckethead didn't use her right and stuff." Like, did you get along with Sabrina, or like, is that just people talking out of line?
No, no, I mean, that's their opinion. They're probably right. I mean, when I had her on the show, again, I was a different radio personality too at the time. So,
and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like,
No,
like,
I don't mind talking about this stuff. There's honest answers that aren't bad. I don't know what she's become. I know she got hired with the News Junkie when I left, and she's a big part of the show.
Yeah, she's become like, I'm not saying like on a sexy Savannah level type, but for female radio personality, she's like one of the big names on the station now. And
that's great.
And she's grown.
Yeah, that's great. So well, with that being said, yeah, I probably didn't use her, but she wasn't on my show hired to be a second mic. She was an intern. Now, where I probably fell flat would be my style at the time was still kind of that, guy 18 to 34 rock, immature, bitty type of stuff. So, I mean, I knew also the problem in radio is, and unfortunately, people that just get into radio, like the way that I was brought in, the way that you were brought in, dude, you used to have rulers snapped over your back. I thought that shit was hilarious.
Dude, man, I have CTE from all the concussions and stuff. Like, seriously,
you were buried in cement, and people still to this day remember that bit because it was brilliant. But here's the thing is that young people now that get into this business, and I'm not saying that Sabrina's one of them, but they take everything very personally. They have to understand that when we were brought into this business, it was a hazing process, and everything is for entertainment. It's never personal. It's always business. And if you can't accept that, then get out.
Dude, when I went to Bubba though, that's when the hazing got set up to another level. Do you realize that and it was the first one that could finish, and we all had to like stare at each other while we were doing it, and I completely lost, but I got $100 bonus because this very large African-American man jizzed on my knee, and I got $100 bonus for it.
See,
now that's
here's like, I think that's funny, right? But you're talking to a 45-year-old dude that grew up in the age of Stern, and stuff like that. In 2021, you go to a 22-year-old and you tell him that, they're going to file a lawsuit. So
Yeah.
and I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying it's a mentality. Back to my point with Sabrina, did I not use her properly? You can always go back and second guess people. Did you not use them properly? Did I not use Otto properly? Did I not use? I honestly could tell you yes to all those things looking back now, but then I didn't know. So, I'm not, everybody makes
You were
mistakes.
growing though. You were still
Sure.
getting you were still growing. One last thing. The other horrible stunt that I had, I had an expandable butt plug put in my anus for it was whoever could take the most pumps out of 3 other dudes on the show, and I backed out of that one immediately after the first pump. But yeah, so yeah, working with Bubba was, I mean, like they take it like, because you got to remember Bubba comes from that wrestling
Right.
lifestyle. It's like you got to take your bumps. He used to call me the baby heel. He was like, people call you the heel, but you baby face. People love you,
Yeah.
but you're the dick. I made my name for Bubba when I was covering the Casey Anthony trial. I got Cheney Mason to flip me the bird. Remember that
Mhm.
famous picture of Cheney
Yeah.
Mason? Yeah, that was me, because like they were ignoring me the whole entire time, and I told them, I said, if you guys are not going to answer my questions, I'm just going to ask you the most ridiculous shit in the world. And I asked the one question because Cheney wrote about it in his book. I asked the female paralegals. I said, "Are you guys worried that you're going to spend so much time with Casey that your cycles are going to sync up with each other?" And Cheney got so mad at that, and
What a
and
great
like cursed me.
question.
But I mean, it was just weird stuff, man. But Jason, I am so happy for you. I apologize that I'm doing this in my car, but you know how Orlando traffic is. I don't know if you've been here. They have I-4 completely,
No.
completely messed up, man.
But
This
see, if you
this
would have never told anyone, and if you're just doing the audio of this, they would have never known. You sound fine. You sound clear. You did a great job. They would have not, no one ever even known that you're in your car continuing to look over your shoulder like you're getting ready to get carjacked.
Well, no. Well, I'm on Landstar right now. Do you know where Landstar? I'm on
No.
Landstar and 417. Like, I'm on. Yeah, I'm at a 7-Eleven that used to look like it was a Citgo. Um, Park. That's where
Yeah.
Tom and Dan are at now, man. What about Tom and Dan, man? They are killing it.
Dude, I have so much respect for them. They, like you're doing a podcast. I have a podcast, I have a couple podcasts, and they 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 were ballsy enough to say we're
They
done with
left.
the corporate stuff. They obviously had issues with the situation that they were in, and they said, you know what, we're going to risk it and do this, which at the time was new. Like, I mean, it was
Mhm.
kind of on the same lines as internet radio, a podcast. This is how long ago it was. And I just remember going, God, I idolize you guys. I have so much respect because I'm always a fan of somebody that tells the man to go fuck themselves and has the
And they brought
balls.
him back though. They brought him back after they said, hey, after they tell management to go fuck themselves, management still brings them back and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, we want you to do nights."
Yeah. I tried to hire Daniel to come up and be my producer when I first started. And he's like, no, man, this is a good thing. It's going to be big. And I was like, all right, good for you, dude. I mean, he's one of the most talented guys in this business,
Man, he
hands
is
down,
so good.
by far. Daniel is, I've always been such a huge fan of him as a person and as a talent. Like
Mm.
I would have, and probably never will. You never say never, but I would have loved to have worked with him. And you go back to when he worked with Drew, when he just
Drew.
got into the business. God, they did some of the best radio.
Those prank phone calls that they used to do at nights they used to do this one where Daniel would play a woman and Drew, they would call a bookstore, and Drew would act like he was looking for a book on anger management, and you could hear Daniel in the background acting like a woman, like bitching at Drew, and Drew was like, shut up, bitch, and would just like start beating him and acting. It was some of the funniest stuff.
Do you remember when he would call like Home Depot and ask about black
yeah,
cock?
white, yeah, the cock. But then we would make him say, do you remember when you remember Dominic?
Yeah, the pizza guy.
The pizza guy would come in. Man, I could sit here and talk to you for hours, Jason, but man, I'm so proud of you. Tell people once again where they can check you out. Rock 100.5. You guys start 6 or do you guys start earlier?
Yeah, so the radio morning show, Bailey and Southside, Rock 100.5 out of Atlanta. You can go to BaileyandSouthside.com. You can, listen anywhere. Also, I just started a new podcast, which is surprisingly having a lot of success. I'm still trying to understand. My producer kind of pushed me into this direction of doing this Bailey's Black Cloud podcast. I kind of known for always having issues with anywhere I go. And so now I'm sharing those stories, and it's just a 20-minute, podcast. And we're, like into our 4th, 5th episode, and it's blowing up, which is great. I love it. I check it every day. I'm like, oh my God, look how many people are listening to this. It's so cool. And then I've got my grilling podcast, which we'll probably bring back in the spring called
You've
Shoot
been
to Grill.
grilling. You've been grilling a Big Green Egg. You've been using the
Kamado Joe.
Okay. See, BGE is what everybody's using down here.
Yeah, nothing against. Do you know who the marketing guy for Big Green? They're both Atlanta-based companies.
No, I did not.
Okay, so do you know who the marketing guy is for Big Green Egg? He'll like me popping him. Rob DeMarco.
Oh, no kid. Yeah.
A web guy in Clear Channel in Tampa for all those years. And I think he used to be on with Bubba for a minute. And then he did that racing show. He's a big race car guy. I had no idea he lived up here. I was having some trees cut down. Ends up the dude cutting the trees is his cousin and telling me who he is. I'm like, I know that guy. Then I reached out to him, and we talk occasionally, and we talk on social media, but he's the he hates that I grill on a Kamado Joe, but that's everybody's got their brands, I guess.
You got your sponsorship, man. Hey, if there's anything going on down here, like you want me to do man on the street stuff, always let me know. I'll be more than happy to go out and record some stuff if you ever need anything.
Were you in Tampa? Like, can you do Orlando and Tampa?
I'm Orlando and Tampa. So I mean, any of that stuff you need, let me know. I'd be more than happy to, if there's some stuff going on in the streets or whatever you want me to go out and cover, let me know. I'll go out and get audio for you.
Well, who are you working with?
I'm strictly podcasting.
Really? You making money off this?
I got 5 sponsors.
Good for you. How do you charge them? You mind me asking?
Well, this is what I do is I go and I say, give me 30 days. Give me 30 days to be able to prove to you that I can show you some traction. And these people come back and they renegotiate with me. I just picked up a new one called FloridaCannabisCoach.com. What he does is he walks you all the way from the beginning. His older audience, he goes and he helps you find a doctor, helps you get your card, goes to the dispensary the first time with you, finds what strain works for your ailments. I have Starfire Transport, who will transport anything for you. I got my merch guy, stitchyouup.com. I got Good Life Organics and vaporshades.com. I'll send you some sunglasses if you're interested.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, good for you. Do you want to get back into terrestrial radio?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, I've been talking with Bubba a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Bubba have had our falling out a little bit, but he always seems to bring me back. So I guess he likes me. So that's a good thing. And like I burned a lot of bridges and I've repaired most of them so far, and
what did you do? I always hear these stories about you, and I'm like, all right, you're on with the Monsters, and then you got heat with Russ, and then you're on with Bubba, and then you got heat with Bubba, and then it's like
I take shit personally. I just take personally. You're like me. I love radio. And I was with the Monsters in Real Radio for 10 years, and when I got let go, I took it personally. I was like, fuck them, fuck you, like I just got mad and I took it personally. So
Yeah, you can't. That was Fat Tuddle too. I remember Fat Tuddle back in the day.
Yeah, Fat Tuddle, dude. I've gone up and down. Listen, man. All I do is exercise. I'm sober a year and a half
Good
now.
for you.
I'm one to do an MMA fight coming up soon, like because that's the type of shape that I'm getting into. I just want to do it. I'm not saying I'm a tough guy, but I just want to say that I've done it.
Good for you. Well,
So if you got so if you got anybody on Bailey and Southside that maybe wants to take on a scrawny 41-year-old white trash nerd, I'll be more than happy to come up there and we can make it happen.
I'll get my phone screener, Nikki D. She'll come down and she'll throw a few blows.
You know that I am the intergender champion.
I know you are.
I'm 42-1. The only woman I lost to was Christy Martin, who was the heavyweight women's champion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like I mean, Southside is a pretty big dude. Like I mean, does he want to take on like a 165-pound nerd kid?
I think Steve's stunt days are past him. That was one of the things that when we first start working together, I said,
"It's like I ain't doing no more of that shit."
Those days are done. You're a manager now. You're no more a waiter. And I think Steve and I are at the same point of our lives where we're just kind of too tired to do too much of this stuff. We're just
Bubba put me in a coffin full of blue crabs. That one was pretty bad.
That's crazy because blue crabs are extremely expensive. I'm a Maryland-born guy, and I know what a bushel of blue crabs go for. So to throw out the money for a bit like that, I hope that somebody ate those crabs afterwards.
Yeah. So, all right. Hey, Jason, I appreciate it, man. I miss you, buddy, and I'm so proud of you.
Thanks. Hey, by the way, with those podcasts, you can go to jasonbailey.com to download those podcasts. Tuddle, keep your head on. You're an extremely talented, passionate dude. I've always had mad respect for you. Don't take shit personally. People need you more than what you realize because people like you, and that equals ratings and currency.
And I'm not bullshitting you. You need a man on the street to come out and do some audio and do some stuff, man. Like all I'm looking to do is promote my podcast. So I'm telling you, I will be your man. You know, I'm not scared to ask anybody anything.
I know. And trust me, I will take you up on that offer. I promise you. So don't be shocked if you get a text from me and say, dude, I need some street stunt audio like by tomorrow. And I know you'll get it to me. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Love you, buddy. Bye.
Take care, buddy. See ya. Bye. Thanks.